Good morning and welcome to the month of July. A little bit late in getting this folklore post out to you, but better late than never. So let's get started. The animal theme that I'm going to be working with in my art journal for the month of July is the deer and the stag. And they're kind of different symbolic attributes that are associated with each of those. The deer or the doe being more positive, being more gentle, being a great observer, and the stag or the buck being independent, being a protector, very much being the embodiment of kind of wilderness and that virile, fertile forest. So I did think it was interesting that the deer are found on every continent except Australia. Now, I would assume they're not found on Antarctica, but I didn't look into that. So that's something that I want to take a note on. Symbol of swiftness, strength, even nobility sometimes if you look back to some of the symbols used in heraldry in the Middle Ages. There's an element of the cyclical nature in that they grow antlers, shed them, grow new antlers. So there are a lot of nature themes there and different aspects of the more passive and then the more strong. So, in our history, of course, I think of that, and deer and different horned animals go all the way back to cave paintings. There's a logic to that in that every part of the animal would be used. The meat would be eaten. The bones and antlers would be used to make tools. The hides would be used to make clothing. So they become integral to life itself. In mythology, if we're looking, let's start with the Greek myth, Artemis, the huntress, definitely associated with deer. While she was a goddess of the moon, she was also a huntress, known to seen with her bow and arrow. In a famous story, hunter Actaeon spied on her while she was bathing, and in punishment for that, he was turned into a hound. He was turned into a deer, and then her hunting hounds, caught him and tore him limb from limb. There was another Greek tale, and I wasn't as familiar with this one, but there was a huntress named Argi, pronunciation, I apologize. And in that classic kind of don't boast, don't compare yourself to the gods kind of trope, there was a stag that was as fast as the sun, and she swore that she could catch it. And so this angered Helios, the god of the sun, and so she was turned into a hind, a deer. There was also, again, pronunciation, there's Ceryneian hind. This is one of the labors of Hercules. This doe had golden antlers, brass hooves, and a dappled hide, snorted fire, and was extremely fast. So retrieving it was the third labor of Hercules. It was sacred to Artemis, as deer were. If we switch it up and go to Norse myth, one remarkable incident where deer were mentioned is that in the cosmos, there is Yggdrasil, the world tree, and there are 4 stags that feed amongst the roots of the tree. Are they the 4 winds? Are they the 4 seasons? My preliminary research that it was, didn't go into all of that. But they were named Dane, Dwalin, Denneir, and Durathor. I mean, if those names don't sound like they're straight out of Tolkien, exactly. I mean, we know he was pulling inspiration from many different world myths like that. Quite a few deers factor into Welsh and Celtic and Irish mythology. We have mentioned before Cernunnus, who was on the Gunnestrup Cauldron, who had the antlers of a deer. He was that kind of lord of the forest. He was the god figure, seen with snakes, seen with even a dolphin on the Gunnestrup Cauldron, which I know I mentioned last month. He's definitely a symbol of fertility and abundance and regeneration. In the Mabinogi, it's because of a stag that Pwyll and Arawn meet. which is a huge myth cycle in the beginning of the first branch, I believe it is. Later on in Cuailnge and Olwen, there is the stag of Rhedynfre. Again, pronunciation, I'm learning my Welsh, but it's tough. This was a supernatural stag that King Arthur, and his men were involved with. That stag aided them in their quest to find Mabon. Definitely more appearances in Irish myth that came across in my beginnings of research. There's pronunciation. Flidais, an Irish goddess of deer and cattle, of all the wild things. So where you had Cernunnus as the lord of the forest, then in Irish myth you have this goddess that is that same kind of virile forest fertility and abundance. She had a chariot pulled by deer, and in some myths she was the lover of Fergus Bicroch. Now, there's also Fionn Cumhaill, and he was a prodigious hunter. His son was named Oisin. Oisin? It's spelled Oisin, but the name translates as Little Fawn. A few other just small side notes. In the Shinto religion in Japan, deer are seen as the messengers of the gods, and they're definitely the symbol of the city of Nara. In Hinduism, Sarasvati, who is the goddess of learning, takes the form of a deer in some occasions. So in homage to her for that, scholars often sit on deerskin mats. There's a golden deer in the Ramayana. Sita asks Rama and Lakshmana to get it, but it's actually a Rakshasa in disguise, and it's a ploy to kidnap Sita. She is the, Rama is the epitome of hero, and she is the epitome of loyal, long-suffering wife, but she is captured by Ravenna, who's the lord of the demons. Long saga to get her back. And I think I'll end on one which I want to treat even more respectfully than I often do, as I try and respect the cultures from whence these myths came. There's a character in Native American myth called Deer Woman, and it is important to remember that Native American, it's not a monomyth. There are multiple, too many to count, hundreds of different tribal groups, clan groups, belief systems, right? And so in our oppressor culture, since we came and took the land from the Native Americans, it is often lumped into one monomyth. So please do your research if this is of interest to you. But the Deer Woman appears as a beautiful woman with deer feet, with the hooves of a deer. And she is vengeful and murderous to men who have harmed women and children. So her role is basically, upholding the right way of being in society and punishing actions that harm the community. Especially, she is coming into the fore. Her stories are renewed. Interest in her is being renewed, especially now because of this large, often unreported scope of disappeared Native women. So I encourage you to do your research and look into that if that is something that speaks to you or is of interest to you. She does appear in Lakota, Ojibwe, Cherokee, Seminole, Choctaw, Pawnee, to name a few, right? Just showing the multitude of Native American cultures, indigenous cultures that are out there that should not be lumped into a monoculture. I can probably predict that I was really struck by the huntress who wanted to catch the stag that was as fast as the sun. I like that kind of sun and antler visual that's popping into my head. There will probably be something Irish Celtic, because that is my heritage and that always resonates with me. There may be something inspired by cave paintings or a more archaic rock carving, petroglyph, archaeology. There might be something inspired there. So I'm not sure where all of this is going to take me. I mean, Yggdrasil, the world tree, that's really good too. I have a new tree stencil that I could try out. So I'm going to see where this takes me. The myth is a little bit lighter this month, but I do encourage you to do your own research if this is something that appeals to you. But stay tuned for different episodes of Weekly Spark as we go forward this month and see how the deer motif or the stag motif is going to pop up into my work and my pages. As always, I invite you to like the video, subscribe, click the bell, do all those YouTube things, because not only does that help the channel, but I love to know that you're out there, and I would love to see your comments on this video and the future videos coming up. So stay tuned. Tomorrow, actually, your first video of one of my pages with this theme will release. So I'll see you then.